Greetings and salutations, Internet. Welcome to the We Suck podcast, episode 2, brought to you by the Internet, where all the dangest memes go to die. I am your host, Casual Nerd. On this episode, I am joined by...
I'm Cole.
I'm Lee.
And I'm Schmear.
All right. Well, we got through the intro, okay, so that was better than I thought it would go. So, how's everyone doing? What sort of projects have you guys been getting up to the past few days?
Man, I wish I was up to projects. I've been busy with work lately. I've got a lot of stuff I want to do, but work just gets in the way.
Same though.
Yeah, I feel you.
Although, I mean, we're it doesn't matter if we did this podcast, but like Jump Inside Revenge just came out, so I'm excited about that. And also, I'm trying to get better at Siege, even though that's not a thing that's happening currently.
Hey,
You're trying.
it's still progress. It happens, though.
Lee's our gamer in training.
Yes, it's true. It's true. We just got to get over the panicking. Once you get over the panicking, you'll do great.
Yeah,
slowly
just,
building
just
them up.
breathe.
That's always
I do
important.
tend to hold my breath when I'm in dire situations.
So if you do ever hear in a video somebody just collapsing out of their chair, it's probably Lee.
Guilty.
I mean, I think
Golden
that
brother
at some
one.
point recently, both you and no, that was Cole. Cole fell out of his chair when we beat the raid.
No,
Oh,
I
that's something
jumped.
we did.
That wasn't a fall. That was a jump. Yeah, that
That's
was a
something
thing.
we did.
You did,
Cole and I
Schmear.
beat the raid in Destiny 2.
Awesome.
Leviathan.
I'm
After
suddenly
it took us a month.
took us a month, and I'm actually finally happy to play Destiny again.
Oh, it's so
Ooh.
nice. It's such a. I never thought a video game could instill so much stress and frustration into my life,
Yeah,
but there
it
was
was
such.
ruining relationships.
Everyone
That's not good.
was so relieved when we finally
Yeah.
did it, and we didn't have to do it ever again.
Oh, hey, that's always exciting. I know that. I know for me personally, Overwatch is something that, depending on the day, gets minorly rage-inducing. So I get that for sure, especially when you're doing co-op games. That's one thing I've yet to do is to actually go all the way through the raid, but just because I'm gonna end up having to start over on
You're
PC anyway, since I'm gonna be doing it all on there. So
I don't know.
I'm still not even high enough level for the raid. I'm not even level
Lee,
20
you haven't
yet.
beaten the game yet.
I have
you?
not. I suck.
I haven't beaten.
I'm the king
game
of suck here, okay?
yet.
When it comes to
The king
games.
of
But I'm
Suck.
gonna restart my second character anyways. Because I did something weird with my second character.
yeah, that'll happen.
My second character, I just made another Titan. Just the same.
Ah,
Yeah, I don't. But you really wanted another Titan for some
I
reason.
did. Well, I wanted to just be the same character, but I wanted to be an Exo instead of an Awoken.
Are you gonna get rid of your first character then?
No.
You guys
I
are-
beat
you
the
guys
raid,
are-
you can't,
Beat the
right?
raid.
Here
It's
you
like the
Well,
raid.
yeah.
You guys are like talking about second and third characters, and here's me like on my first character, like
You'll get there.
not even.
I'm gonna restart my second character.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
I
I'm gonna
need to.
start a
I need to
hunter.
start doing mine, but
I kind of want to start a warlock just because I give warlocks so much shit, and I kind of feel bad.
we all
Um,
give warlocks so much
I have a
shit.
question. How loud
Except
is
for
mine?
me, because I main warlocks.
Hmm.
It was always my jam.
Oh, see, I can't do it. I was always a hunter.
Mm.
I like that hunters to me were always the more geared towards ranged combat, and I'm more of a range guy.
Yeah.
And then there's
Yeah, they
me
have
who
a
always
weird-
dies.
Well, I mean, that's just
I activate my
Lee,
super and I
video
die
I don't like ranged
immediately.
that much. I like being a Titan because most games I play a heavy character that just runs in and just punches things. Or hits
Yeah.
things with really big weapons.
I
Yeah.
dance a fine line between like doing that or trying my best to like snipe and do stealth games
I'm
when I
so
play
bad
video
at
games.
stealth. I'm so bad at stealth.
It depends on the mood I'm in.
The only game I can really do stealth in is Siege, and that's just because you have to be stealthy
yeah.
most of the time. Like, if they know where you are, like, there's a chance. Just
Unless you're me and you just run in and die.
After
mean-
droning for like 2 hours.
Yeah, and letting everyone else on our team die.
I can't wait until we do ranked play and Lee has to, fight or play against people that take the game way too seriously.
Hmm See, this
All
is
of the
why
tryhards.
I'm just
Oh,
happy to have a
so
full
many
team of
tryhards.
who, like, are us to play ranked with, because I haven't played any ranked because I want to interact with the people
Oh,
like
I
in
know.
Siege that I'd be playing with.
Having the full
Because
5-man team that you can
I-
actually talk to and know makes so much difference.
I don't like
Yeah.
people who play Siege. Like, most of the time, like, people who play Siege are assholes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
They
feel like
are.
that's kind of a thing, especially when it comes to video games, is even if it's like, if you're playing with whatever a full squad is, especially in a team-based game like either Siege or Overwatch or something like that, if you get a group of people that you're comfortable with and you played with enough to kind of understand like what they're doing, I feel like that in itself, like no matter what anyone's actual like mechanical skill level with a game is, like just having that comfort level with your teammates is in and of itself far better than having like a full squad of mechanically gifted people who have never played together before.
Really, that's
Yeah.
one of those things that it transfers over from more than just games. Like that would be your like having a team that you can rely on for and trust, in any aspect is always so much more helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it easier too. I know, I'm more willing to, you know, like comparing this to like my 9 to 5, like I don't want to do anything in my 9 to 5, even though I'm there. I'm pretty much isolated by myself most of the time. But like when it comes to like making content or something like that, I'd be way more willing to go way out of my way and over and above for any of my friends doing any of that stuff with them than I would be for just some random person who's also getting paid to be in the same location I am.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And see, like when I found out how those of us that had Siege, and I found out we had a full team, like playing with you, Schmear, Lee, Margot, and myself, it's so much nicer than just having even only like if there was 3 of us and then 2 randoms. It would just
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
Even
so
when I
much more
accidentally shoot you, Cole.
Although,
Listen, you
I like when you
you and
Margot
Margot,
in Georgia.
yeah, Georgia and her ult accounts.
Yeah.
Yep.
All of them. Which is at this point like what, like half of Xbox Live?
Yeah, at this point, yeah, it's about that.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, no, I agree. It's always fun to have, and curious to see what other sort of multiplayer games we can get into.
Yeah.
Oh, and
We've
I think it'd be interesting, like the more multiplayer games we play and the more we have people that we have a group in. I think it'd be interesting to see who takes charge of certain ones, because obviously like Siege, we're all kind of trying to coach Lee.
Yeah.
We've kind of found
Yeah.
Margot's place with the shotgun and Doc, but like Lee, we're trying to coach. But if God forbid, there's ever a racing game like Schmear, I know you played the crew. I will take the reins and lead the group on that, no problems.
played not good. I'm bad at racing games. I'm
being
really
being
bad
good
at
at
racing
games is
games.
overrated.
There's
that
some
means,
games
that means I'm very
decent.
underrated then.
We could play Battlefield or Call of Duty.
Ooh, Battlefield is also really good.
Call of Duty I'm not as good at, but Battlefield.
I think I have Battlefield, or something.
Huh.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
Do you know? Yeah.
I got the one that
need to
came
get
free with the
Battlefield 4,
Xbox one.
because I have Battlefield 3 that's backwards compatible now too, and then I have Battlefield 1, but I really need to get Battlefield 4 because that's like been my favorite because I've played it before. It just went away. They had it from like an EA Access whatever thing they do, but
yeah.
I just love it.
Well, I was going to say on the topic of those, does it ever bother you that they have a new one every year and it's like you have to go through sort of the same song and dance to figure it out, or is it just like, hey, this is fun and it's still enough of a new experience to where you're not completely annoyed? Because I know for me personally, I'm like, it's basically the same thing but reskinned, so I have to pay for the full price of the same game again, just for like a couple new maps and some new skins.
Yeah.
And see, the thing for me is, when it comes to Battlefield, I used to be that guy with Call of Duties. I would buy some point within the first 3-4 months of it coming out, I'd buy the new one. But like Battlefield is really the only game that I keep buying the franchise more, and I never buy it immediately because I don't pay for the premium DLCs worth all of the map packs or anything normally.
You know.
So, for instance, Battlefield 4, what I did is I bought the base game for like $20 at GameStop, played the hell out of it, and then at one point I was going through the Xbox homepage, and it said that they were selling the premium edition with all the DLC premium membership for like $19.88 and some tax on Xbox Live for some deal. So I bought that, and I still to this day play Battlefield 4, and that's been out for 3 years now.
Okay.
I for a while there was buying most of the Call of Duties when they came out. The most recent one I have is I don't have Advanced Warfare or Infinite. Yeah, that's the one that just came like a year ago, or 2 years ago. I don't know how long ago. I don't know.
Infinite Warfare was a year ago.
Okay, just a year. Okay. But so I have Black Ops 3. I really want to get World War II just because I'm happy that they're going back to World War II. So that's where Call of Duty started. And I just like the older stuff rather than the weird kind of it's kind of like weird cheesy sci-fi like stuff. Like it was weird to me. That's why I never got Advanced Warfare. And then Black Ops 3 was like still was quite a bit future-y, but had enough things that I still liked it.
Right. Yeah. The future warfare scene that Call of Duty took on really wore itself out on me really quick.
Yeah.
I was super excited. Even Battlefield for a long time. Battlefield set, I want to say the new numbered ones like 3 and 4. They're set in the near future, like 2025 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, as soon as they announced they're going back to World War I for Battlefield 1, I was super excited for it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love that game.
There's not a lot of games that have gone like through history that way. So that alone interested me. And then it's just so different than playing these future war first-person shooters.
Yeah, I feel like the market there is really saturated at this point, and I mean, I'm self-admitted. I'm really big into cyberpunk, and all of like the way future stuff, and hell, like if we could like augment ourselves, I would be the first person in line to start doing that. But even like having that in a game, I feel like at this point that's not something that translates all that well like into the game, because I feel like it's so much like it's like, okay, I mean that's cool, but it almost, in order to bring it into this sort of bigger scope that they do to try and draw more people in, it almost ends up to the point of like fantasy, where you're like, okay, how would that even actually work? But I mean, that's just how I look at things like that.
And then there was when Halo started like amalgamating itself towards that kind of Call of Duty style, that's when I really started to turn away from even Halo. And Halo was one of my longest, like most loved franchises. I had Halo 1 on the original Xbox in like 2003.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So I mean, when they started adding things like in Halo Reach, they had the class system. I'm like, well, I mean, that's when they first started really taking on kind of hints and traits of other first-person shooters at the time. I'm like, okay, no big deal, because the class system there wasn't progression. It was just set per game mode. But then, like, you get to nowadays with Halo 5, and there's, requisition packs for essentially
those are weird.
In-game loot boxes. There's, classes that you make, and they've even gone from Halo used to be, for me at least, the very like basic first-person shooter, but still fun. Like you could look around, jump, crouch, that's it. But now you could look at Halo 5 and you can double jump, you can climb over walls, and it's amalgamating itself to this massive group, and it's kind of making itself not as unique anymore. I feel like it's losing the experience, and it might suffer, people not buying it anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting to watch. Like, I watch a lot of esports. I mean, that's definitely something that I do. I'm on Twitch all the time, and it's interesting watching the numbers of something like you mentioned, like a Halo, where it's like it's known for being this big, first-person shooter. That's where a lot of people go, and then you look at a game like PlayerUnknown's that comes into the scene, or League of Legends, and comparatively to something like a Halo, whether you like just the basics of the game, the visuals and stuff like that, they're so much more simple, yet they have they have such a bigger following because it's like, hey, it's not this crazy thing where, like you said, there's 1.5 million classes or things like that. I think it's kind of where,
Yeah.
where like an Overwatch fits in really well, because even though they have, it's not classes, it's like these characters, but like these characters are set and you can rotate them out, but it's not like, hey, this one looks like the same one, but he's
You
completely
don't
different.
change their powers or their
Yeah.
gear or anything like that. And I think that's one of the things also people, again, like really like about like PUBG is that they can, they can all have kind of an equal footing when they start. Like everyone doesn't have anything, and then you just find stuff. And like same as like in Overwatch, like you do have like you start with stuff, but everyone starts with like the same thing if they're the same like character.
Oh yeah.
Not like people have different things, which I think that people are starting to like that more. Like everyone having like fixed like set classes rather than having a bunch of customizable things that everyone can.
Along the same vein, I think Rainbow Six Siege does that really well to find a good middle ground, because there's all the operators and they all have the same, like each one has this unique set that you can't change, but at the same, like they have the unique ability, everyone has their operator gadget, but at the same time they all have at least an alternate weapon you can use if you're more comfortable doing this, like the French GIG, and they have the for instance, they have the revolver, which hits like a freight train, but not everyone uses it because it's not the best accuracy. So it's nothing that's going to break the game, but it still allows people to find their comfort zone with how they want to play.
Oh yeah, balance is always important, and I know that there are a lot of games that do it better than others. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the kind of like we've all kind of hinted at is it's that I think that makes it more fun. It's like you can have your unique bits, but you need a good balancing system, whether it's something like PUBG where it's, hey, you have to, you're going to be praying to the RNG gods that you're be getting something that you're decent with.
Yeah.
And you see who's good at that game because they're good with kind of like they're just like a basic strategy, but then okay, what have I come across? Okay, I can work with whatever this is. Or kind of like a Rainbow Six where it's like, okay, I'm good with these things. I kind of know the map. I can make a plan based off of this. And it's not like, hey, I have this damage mod where all of a sudden my guy does like triple the damage. You're playing him and you're like, oh, I know who I'm playing against. It's not all of a sudden I just got one shot and I have no idea why. Oh, he's got this stupid like mod where he's doing like triple damage. It's like, no, you see who the operators are and you have an idea of like, okay, I know what their basic capabilities are, so I can play against that. Like, it makes it more fun.
I really love Siege's, like, I don't know, there's so much that matters other than just what you have to fight with, too. Like, there's just so much strategy within it of, like, where to go. Listening is probably the most important thing in that game.
Which I'm bad at.
Because you can hear everything. You just gotta listen better, and also like.
The thing is,
a lot of the time you're talking when we're trying to listen for things.
The thing is though, because I think I sit well here where I don't know a lot about these kind of things because, like, I don't play shooters. I wasn't grown up on that, so that's why I don't know any of the stuff you guys are talking about most of the time. Because I grew up on like RPGs and like I played like a lot of handheld stuff like on Nintendo consoles and stuff like that. So I didn't
like your Final Fantasies and
like shooters were not my thing. So like I always say, technically it's not a shooter, but like the first game I ever had to like shoot things out of was Overwatch, which is not technically a shooter, but I never played this kind of game. So when like I was like, I guess I'll pick up Siege. I'm gonna suck. I always tell you guys, I'm forewarning you. This is not my forte. Like,
you are getting a lot better.
Earlier, you were the reason we won a game.
Yeah, it's happened a few times.
You, not just once, but twice in the game, when me and you were playing early before everyone else was online, you won one round, and then the final round it was you against 3 unknown operators for the other team, and you managed to pull off a win. So I mean,
I still don't know how that happened.
Oh, was that with the Claymore and the?
Yeah, that was the.
Oh, okay, I didn't realize he was playing with you. I thought he was.
No, I was yeah, me and Lee were playing earlier, and he shot 2 of the enemies, and then the third one ran into a Claymore Lee planted around a corner.
Nice.
It was actually really cool to watch.
Good job.
Except for the part where I accidentally went into my drone.
You know, we all do things. I know toward the end of we were all playing yesterday, and toward the end of the day, I was just, you know, you get to the point where you've been playing for a while, and I know it was
hit a wall.
really early in the morning. Yeah, I just hit the wall, and I got caught out. I think 3 rounds in a row where I'm like, all right, you know, set up here and here and here, and then I move into a side room thinking, oh, there's nobody here, and you know, two enemy operators are sitting right there, and it's like, and that happened like 3 times in a row. It's like, okay, I should figure that out after the first time. So
Right.
we all do things.
We had
And I think
a really.
sometimes. Oh, sorry. Go on, Schmear.
We're just our chemistry is just getting so much better. Like when we play, like the main thing we have to work on in Siege is our defense. Like
Yeah.
when we're on,
Yeah.
when we're defending, and it's getting better even. Like when we start setting up, everyone like knows what their job is. Like depending on what they're.
I just need to learn the
like,
maps more when it
they
comes
get their.
to.
Yeah, that's one of the main things. Is just knowing.
Yeah.
And knowing where to
That's-
put reinforcements, and I've been liking Mira because I like being able to just like. I know where to put I know where it would be nice, good to have the mirrors, because like, I just know how the strategy is best. Like, that's the number one thing is the strategy.
Yeah.
I just reminded myself of the time that I tried to shoot through your mirror without deactivating it. I don't know. It was like a week or so ago, but you're like, you can't shoot through that. Maybe it was Margot that said that. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
I think I remember that night.
He says some wicked stuff.
See, the thing is, when we play Siege, a lot of times it's not for like the purpose of. It's generally Siege is our go-to fun game lately.
Yeah.
And so when we play Siege, it's normally like, I work 11 hours a day at my job, and I know for a fact we don't all have the same days off of work, so we're still up at like 3 in the morning playing video games after working an entire day. So I mean, a lot of times we're just here having fun. Yeah, working the next day or not, we're here having fun. And sometimes it's just we're not really necessarily focused on winning. We might want to win, but we're not necessarily focused on it. We're just here for a good time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like we'll still like talk like winning. Like we'll still like we'll be playing and we'll be trying to win, but like when we don't win, like we're like it doesn't turn into a big.
Right.
Yeah, we're not trying to create a pro team or anything like that.
What?
That's
You mean
just...
Are you sure?
Esports?
It has a nice ring to it. Sponsored by so many.
I mean, look, there's a lot of money in that, but the way that esports is going, I mean, we're talking it's on the level of any other pro sport at this point.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, I'm really big into esports, so like
Didn't they
that's
just
what I
like
spend.
sign an Overwatch player for like $100,000 or something? What was his name?
Yeah,
Sinatra?
you're talking about Sinatra for the formerly known as NRG Overwatch team.
Formerly known.
Well, yeah, it's kind of the thing that's going on at the current state of Overwatch League. What they're doing is they've been working with Overwatch, or Blizzard really, has been working with like esports organizations and offering them city spots. So one of the big things that's been happening is these teams have been being assigned cities. So NRG got the city, they got San Francisco. So they got the San Francisco.
Yeah.
So that's why I say formerly NRG, because they don't go under that banner anymore.
Okay, because I had heard of them. I don't know a lot about esports, but there's a couple teams that I've heard of. Like I know about FaZe, I know about NRG, and I know about Optic.
Yeah, yeah.
Is
Optic
Optic even still around?
not in the Overwatch scene currently.
Okay.
I know. I mean, I shouldn't
know
say
they're
no.
always
I've
gonna
seen
be
them in
Call of Duty.
Halo. I've seen them. I mean, they've been pretty big in Halo, still, I believe. And I think they've been in some other esports. But I know they let go of their Overwatch team pretty early on. That's actually been a big thing that's been happening in Overwatch. As you see these big organizations, actually one of the biggest ones recently, and it was kind of a shock, was Rogue. And Rogue is across multiple esports. They actually let go of their Overwatch team, which was one of the most winning teams,
Oh.
because they didn't get one of those cities for season 1 of Overwatch League, which was actually a big deal. So it'll be interesting to see, and I'm following pretty closely. So I'll definitely be talking about it on future podcasts. But and actually, I know we have a couple members of the team that are in of our team, Dream Team Succ, that are in Texas. There's actually a Texas spot in Dallas that was not given, but bought by Envious.
I think I
And
remember reading this. I think I saw it in
yeah,
an article.
the Dallas Fuel, and actually, they were this Envious squad. They actually picked up Siegel as well, who's a really well-known streamer, formerly of Energy also. They picked him up, and they won season 1 of Contenders just this past weekend. So yeah, there's a lot of moving spots, and it's really interesting to look at it, because it used to be, and especially the stigma still is that these are guys that are like 300-400 pounds. They're living in their mom's basement, and just going to these random events just to play games. But it's not even the case anymore. You have
you see these
full.
people, they're in shape. They've got
Yeah.
the like professional looking jerseys. They have these, really, at least, some of them at least have, if not like team houses, they have like team shared spaces where they can play and practice.
A lot of them make quite a bit of money, so like they have enough, like they can live like not with their parents, and they can live going, like they can go to the gym and like do other things. Like it's not like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they
talking
have
about
team
playing video
trainers.
games
They have
as a living or anything like that, people just immediately jump onto.
And I feel like it's just
like.
Yeah, I feel like it's just
thing.
the stigma that used to come with it. But I think it's fair to say that esports is still really new
Oh,
to
it
like
is.
the grand scheme of scenes or things, and you're still seeing new branches of it, branch out. There's stereotypical like League of Legends, Dota, stuff like that, esports. But then there's more first-person shooter esports. Rainbow Six is huge on promoting their esports.
Yeah.
You get games like Fortnite's Battle Royale and PUBG, where it's really easy to make an esports team, because it's all you need is 4 people, and you can have 25 teams fighting against each other at once.
Oh yeah.
But even lately, it's Forza Motorsports has been huge on their esports. Like they teamed up with the Australian racing series for V8 supercars, and they're paying out big money within the first month of the game coming out to have these esports racers, race for, in partnership with an actual racing organization. And so I think the stigma is going to fade away as things like this continue to grow. Because I know every June, July-ish, there's the 24 Hours of Le Mans race.
Oh yeah.
Which is a huge, in the world of racing, it's a huge race. It's known as, or it's one of the 3 things in the racing Triple Crown. And during that entire thing going on, where they have this 24-hour endurance race going, Forza flew out some of their qualifiers to Le Mans track in France, and they had them do the Forza 24-hour race, where I think the overall time was a 12-hour race in Forza. But these people that got to qualify for it, they were flown out to the track in France and got to do it in conjunction with the actual event.
That's awesome.
That's really cool. So I checked, and Optic does have a is actually now just the Houston something.
Oh,
I
they're
thought.
Houston.
Yeah.
Oh, Optic
Interesting.
is just there, or is it Envious?
Envy is Dallas.
Yeah,
And
they're the
Optic is
Dallas. They're the
Houston.
Dallas Fuel. Oh, okay.
Optic
Optic is Houston.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't say a team name. At least the article that I saw doesn't say a specific like team name like the
Mhm.
Fuel, but it does say it just says that
Mhm.
they're.
Oh, cool.
And then there's
Oh.
Philadelphia, I believe, has a team.
Yeah, it's like
The Flot.
Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and then there's 2 Los Angeles teams, San Francisco, that'd be I think Dallas and Houston then. And then there's Seoul, I think Hong Kong, London has a team, and I think London was the one that was bought out by Cloud9.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, no, that was weird. That was weird because I know Cloud9's very well known as a North American organization. You know, they had a North American team. You know, and if you're a fan of Rooster Teeth content, you probably know that that team was hired by Funhouse back in the day to play against Achievement Hunter in an Overwatch match. That roster was actually disbanded. And then they actually went out and bought a team. Well, I say bought, but kind of like signed at the same time. They basically they bought the roster from an existing team in Europe. Mm-hmm. So they, even though they failed to qualify for season 1 of Contenders in North America, they went out and bought a team in Europe. So, you know, they're getting a European presence now. And they also actually partnered with a team in Korea for the Apex tournament. It's them and like it's Kongdu Panthera, if I'm remembering that correctly. So I think I was watching that earlier. It's like Cloud9 Panthera or something like that. It actually, the symbol looks pretty cool. I'm a fan.
Huh.
Yeah. So they're kind of like dabbing their toes everywhere.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, and I think I am personally a huge fan of seeing this kind of thing where it's becoming a global thing. It's not like, you know, it's not like your footballs or your baseballs or soccer or something like that where, you know, it takes a lot of, on top of having this skill, you know, it takes a lot of additional resources and infrastructure around you to not only create a league but create teams and, you know, compete on sort of that world class level. Whereas I feel like with esports, like, yeah, you know, there's, you know, you have to have the infrastructure of internet, you have to have the actual hardware to play on, but it's so much more accessible to not only like just anybody anywhere. Because realistically, if you can get just the basics to do it, you know, because of how global a lot of these games are, you know, you can get access to them and keep practicing them and get to a level where, you know, you have that great skill. I mean, you just look, for instance, at the Overwatch World Cup. I mean, you had a number of different nations all participating in this because, you know, they have within their regions, they have people from whatever country it was at a, you know, very high skill level in competitive play, which is, I think it's awesome to see. You know, I like seeing, you know, you get people, you know, on the same team that are from, you know, Korea, North America. Like, I know there's some Russian players, there's some players from Vietnam, Thailand as well. I think Mickey's from Thailand, who's on the Envious team. I'll double check that. But
yeah,
I mean, and the whole reason he was found was because he was playing on an Overwatch World Cup team for his own nation, and, you know, the current owners of Envious saw him and they were like, you know, we like the way that you're playing, you know, come join us. And you see that kind of thing. So I like how accessible it is on a global scale, because I think it brings everybody together in an interesting way. Yeah, there's there's always going to be toxicity on the internet, because hey, you get to hide behind you get to hide behind a username profile picture that's whatever you want it to be. Yeah, I get that. But at the same time, like, I could connect with anybody anywhere in the world on Overwatch, on anything Rooster Teeth related, anything that I watch on YouTube, like any streamers, and you get these people from all over the world talking, and I feel like I've learned so much more that way than I would if I was just even just going to the bar or something like that and talking to people from my hometown. Like it's a much cooler experience.
Right. And
Yeah.
you can see there's a lot of times where people kind of don't look in the aspect of, connecting with other people when they see video games. They see it as you're staring at a screen. But, video games, for instance, me and Schmear were in the same Discord server for like 3-4 months. Never spoke to each other. We played Grand Theft Auto one night, just doing races. And that's how me and Schmear started talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are.
Yeah. And hey, what was it, like not even a year ago, I met Lee playing Overwatch, because we both knew the same person, and that's how we met, and then talked at RTX, and then now here I am playing games with you guys.
Right. And I have friends, one of them, I met both of them during a game on the Xbox 360. I think it was called Warface, back when it was just in like an open beta. And me being, broke high school freshman, so, I see something free. I started playing it, and I started talking to these two guys that were in there. I still, to this day, talk to them. One of them's in the Air Force in Kuwait, and we still talk to each other almost daily. It's, check-ins, how's things going? Even if it's something as simple as just making fun of him for playing Pokemon while he's in the Air Force.
Hey, Pokemon's a good game.
It is.
It is,
Gotta
but
catch
I mean,
them all.
gotta make fun of him
in
somehow.
Kuwait.
Exactly.
But
Does he play Pokemon Go? Question.
No,
Kuwait.
no,
Don't mind me, I'm on a bombing run. I gotta catch the Pikachu though, guys. Hold on.
But no, these two guys, and one of them's on the East Coast. He's obviously overseas. They knew each other, in person. They met in person after they started playing games together. But them and me, and I have friends in California. I've got you guys all over the country. I've got, I know people in Australia, all from just playing games. And I think that's an aspect of it people kind of tend to not see as much.
Is that there can be social, like,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
like how much of a social aspect is to some game that you don't just necessarily meet people that you interact with in games. You meet people through the games, and you interact outside the games too. Like,
Right.
all the time. Like,
I mean, I know some of the people in the server. Ray, me and him, we met at RTX last year, and if it wasn't for being online, I don't think I would ever have met him. Even though we kind of talk now, and it's still just one of those things that I don't think I could have, or I would see myself doing if it had not been for gaming or online internet culture.
Because a lot of things in like personal, like IRL kind of things, it's like, even though you don't mean to, you kind of do put on, like, you judge people like based on like things like you don't know, like with like online gaming, like you know the person, you don't technically have that judgment off that, like,
Absolutely.
the
Mhm.
only
And I mean-
thing you know about the person is either like the way they're interacting within a game, or like talking to you through like a voice chat, or like how they play a game. Like, those are the ways you can like decide like what a person is like, or like figure out what
Right.
it's like. So
And I mean, I see that. I'm starting to see that now down here, because as you guys know, Casual, Schmear, and Lee, I work in loss prevention in a department store. I'm the rent-a-cop, But
Yeah.
the company that I work for, that it's contracted me to the store, they really don't want us to be like friendly. They want us to be, be serious and kind of, paying attention. Which, if you guys know me from playing games, I'm not. But I have to put on this like face, and 2 or 3 of the sales associates I was talking, they were talking to me. They were totally unprepared for, how I actually am, because they were talking to me while I was, getting ready to leave, and they didn't realize that I wasn't just this dead serious person. And I feel like, in person, when you meet someone in real life, you always have that, no matter how they might be, the way they present themselves is always how it takes the first, shape of the mold for how you're going to perceive them.
Mm.
Whereas online, most people you meet, you're going to talk to them and you're going to have no idea anything about them other than how they talk and how they play the game. And I think it just gives you a more baseline to, meet these people and talk to them.
It gives you a chance to sort of take them for who they are rather than how they appear. And I know that that's, judging, in your first impressions and judging somebody right away. I know it's still an ingrained basic survival thing of like, okay, does this person look dangerous?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
it's cool how meeting someone in a very neutral way, and yeah, you're meeting them in a way where it's like, hey, they are, obviously you have something in common because you're in here playing the same game.
Exactly.
But
it's also much harder to necessarily know people too, just because
Yeah.
like at first, obviously, like I feel like I know like at least some of you pretty well.
Yeah.
At this point. But like when you're first playing a game with someone, like I don't know, there's the internet stuff. People like talk about there being dangers of the internet, like all the stranger danger or whatever. Which like, I mean, at this point, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty good at like figuring out like
Yeah.
who's like safe people to talk to on the internet,
Right.
rather than just like I don't know. That's another thing about there's a lot of not fun people when you're playing games.
No.
Like
Sure.
that I don't want to necessarily interact with. That's why I have most voice chats muted on any game I play.
Same. I never joined the PC. It's not good.
And then there's, going with that, I feel like it's certain games attract these groups of people. Like we were talking earlier when we first started, the ranked community for Rainbow Six, so intense, and they are so serious. If you make one error, they are the first to scream at you and jump down your throat about it. And I feel like there's, every game has that, sort of toxic community to it. But I feel like certain games have the bigger groups of it, and I feel, maybe it's not just games. I think you could see that with a lot of, a lot of media, TV, movies, magazines. There's always going to be the groups of people.
I mean, we had the perfect example this weekend. This was the whole Szechuan sauce thing with all of the Rick and Morty fans storming the McDonald's because they wanted the Szechuan sauce.
It's
which
so terrible. Like I love that show, but like I love that show. I watched the entire new season a few times, and I've watched the entire series times. But, like I wouldn't.
I think I saw a video where someone like
Not
jumped
even
onto
good,
like the counter in a McDonald's and started like yelling, and I was like, what?
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah, we'll have to find that and put that in the link up because that one, like you're watching it going, why? Just why?
Yeah, I'll try my best to find it, but I know there was a picture I saw. If nothing else, if I can't find the picture, I'll link the video that I found it from. But there was a giant march of over 1,000 people that the police had to push back, of them just chanting, "We want the sauce." And
oh sure, of all the things you could be, protesting or doing right now, sure, you're gonna be storming a McDonald's parking, like riding at a McDonald's.
I'll give McDonald's, or, I'll kind of split the blame a little bit in the sense that McDonald's knew how big the Rick and Morty fan community is, and they knew how big the Szechuan sauce, meme / joke / part of the series was to the the show, and they still only went through and had such a limited supply. for instance, Boston, the entire city of Boston, one McDonald's got delivered Szechuan sauce.
Oh,
Yikes.
Yeah, I
That
heard
poor
there were.
McDonald's. That
And
poor
not to say like
McDonald's, though.
that, not to say that gives the fans the right
The
to
right to do that.
do
It
these
doesn't. It's
chaos
just
after
weird.
chaotic acts, but
And also, like, I just feel bad for the employees at that one McDonald's because it's not their fault
Oh,
that
yeah.
the overall
especially-
company sent only that
service. I know service
Ugh.
employees are generally like the ones that get the short end of the stick a lot.
one. Mm-hmm.
But McDonald's and fast food in general, they are not, especially franchised restaurants.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
it's completely out of their control. Yelling at the cashier at the register isn't going to be able to help if the manager
gonna do
or the
anything.
Franchisee. That's not
or
gonna bring
the,
any more sauce if
regional
there's
Like,
no
just 'cause you're-
sauce.
You don't rant. Sure, I'm gonna rant at a random shop here anymore because this random employee cares that you're not gonna shop at this store anymore. They're not getting anything out of you. Like, they're just paid to work there. Like, you're not giving them money directly when you're buying stuff.
Exactly.
Like, if nobody came to a store and you still worked there, like, that would be easier.
Oh yeah, that would be.
Like, if I
that would
had
be a lot
to-
easier.
If I worked at a store and I didn't have to deal with any people, like my old job, if I didn't have to have dealt with anyone, that would have made I'd probably still work there. Like, if nobody came in, sure,
I mean-
it's just it got so busy.
Yeah, and I I was a bartender from the time right before I graduated high school until I moved down here. I was a bartender in Montana, and they you'd think that in a dive bar in Montana it wouldn't be too bad for service, but there was, especially during the holidays like the 4th of July, because my town is a big 4th of July town.
Yeah.
There was so many people that would just make my job hell for something that was out of my control. For instance, going back to the 4th of July, so many times there was 2 rules that we had. Do the best that you can to make the drink they order, if not make the closest you can for the rush.
Mhm.
Because the bar had a maximum occupancy of 109 people. There was probably about 300 people in that bar at any given time on the 4th of July.
Oh wow.
Ooh.
Because we had the doors open, we had an outside bar that we had to make so we could handle this influx of customers. And then the second rule was no glass. If they opened a bottle, it had to be poured into a cup, and if they wanted a beer, it had to be poured into a plastic cup. And so many times that we would be going through the 4th of July, people would complain about how we're ruining the flavor of their beer by pouring it into a plastic cup, and how we're ruining it, and how they don't do it at their bar. We weren't the only bar in town doing it. Every bar did it, and I was just a bartender. My manager was the one that told me to do it. I have no control of the situation. Or
Yeah.
going to the other aspect of making the drinks, there was 2 college girls. They wanted lemon drop shots, which, to make it correctly, you sugar the rim of a shot glass. There's a lot that goes into it.
Oh yeah.
There's 13 people asking for drinks. I just poured them, lemon vodka, and charged them, lower price than the vodka is. And they threw such a fit. They drank it, they paid up, and then they left. They were still standing outside for the rest of the night waiting for their friends. It had no impact on me that they left, other than them making my job difficult. Because it was something I couldn't control.
Yeah. Makes me think of all the stories that I have working in an insurance call center, which I'll tell you is.
Mhm.
Oh,
That-
If you ever like being yelled at, work in a call center,
Mhm.
specifically an insurance call center, where it's that letter of, hey, you're now paying more money for X reason, or they don't even necessarily list the reason, they just charge you more, and then you get that phone call and have to answer in however short a time that, hey, this is why this happened. And it's amazing all the stuff that happens behind the scenes. And I know that it's working in all the various jobs that I have has made me appreciate what anybody on the customer service side of anything is doing. Like
Mhm.
whether it's whether you're the person bussing tables, or if you're helping me, literally anything. I know on the customer side, I know that I'm going to go out of my way to be as nice and as patient with you as I can, because I've been on the opposite side of that where I'm like, there's literally nothing I can do. So yeah, I'm giving you the canned answer, but it's because I'm more concerned with being paid than than anything else, because that's what I'm there to do. Like, I want to help, but however, I'm just sitting here, I'm getting paid to basically just sit here and be a buffer between whoever it is and the bigwigs at the company who are making millions and millions of dollars. Like, that's what I'm getting paid to do. It's like,
Right.
I get that. Like,
Yeah.
it's not the actual person who's making the decision, and there's so much of that.
My
And-
favorite thing. Oh, sorry. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, go on, Lee.
Well, my favorite thing, in like my old job, because I was a manager, and like, but I'm pretty young, and like people don't think I would be a manager at that age. Is when customers wouldn't like what I was like saying to them, like saying that I couldn't do like a refund or something for something, and they'd be like, "Can I speak to the manager?" And then it's like, you're talking to him. It's like, it's like, I'm sorry. Who do you want me to grab now?
That was
One of
my
my favorite things,
sorry,
because
what was
I never had the experience because I wasn't the manager or anywhere close to that. But my favorite experience was when I was telling them something that they didn't like hearing, and then ask for the manager, and then I'd get him, and he'd say the exact same thing.
That
And
always
then
happens.
they're like, oh. And then as soon as he says it, and they know he's the manager. But like,
It's like, yeah, because me as a regular employee is gonna tell you lies. I'm like gonna like risk like my job by lying to you when I get the manager. I'm not gonna do that.
And that was probably one of my favorite things about bartending was when people would throw. Well, not my favorite, I should say. It was one of the things that there was the most satisfaction from like bartender to customer side when it came to just general frustrations and how to handle them. Because I was so young, I was bartending at 18. Most of the people that came in, if I asked to see their ID, they would look at me, and even though I didn't look 18, they could generally guess that I was not over 21.
yeah.
Or they would act like that anyways, college kids specifically.
Mhm.
And one time sticks in my mind of this Canadian family came in, because I was in Montana close to the Canadian border. We got Canadians all the time. This Canadian family came through on their vacation. The mom and the dad, lovely people, great customers, love them to death. The son was who I ID'd first. He gives me his ID, and the whole time he's complaining. He's like, "Oh, I bet I'm older than you are." And I told him, "Sir, if you're in here, I guarantee that's the case." And I looked at him and said, "Okay, you checks out. Here's your ID back. What can I get for you to drink?" Pour his drink. Move on to the two daughters. The first daughter goes and gives me, she kind of throws her, her own fit. "I don't know why you're IDing me. I'm 24. You don't need to be ID'd." As she hands me her ID, I check, and sure enough, she's 24. Her sister turned 21 that week. And I looked at them and I said, "This is why I'm IDing you." The whole time they were like, the daughters and the son were just terrible customers the whole time.
Why do people get offended by that though? Like,
I
I would be happy to be carded. Like,
But and they were going through this whole night. This
I'm always
Canadian
weirded out
family.
when I don't like.
get carded.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like that's happened before. Like situations where I haven't like ordered things that I needed to be carded for, but like things happen where like people, like without.
Oh,
carding,
I used to
like,
get offered all the time drinks without being carded.
Yeah, like.
This Canadian, but this Canadian family, the daughters were, I'm a very much, I still dress very Montanan. I wear my blue jeans, my cowboy boots, and my t-shirts. And my bar didn't have a uniform because it's a dive bar in Montana, so I'm wearing my Wranglers or whatever. And they start making sarcastic comments about it, and I'm just kind of whatever. They're asking to buy merchandise that's not actually for sale, like our beer pong table. At one point, they start getting upset.
Who really wanted to buy the beer pong table?
They wanted to do a lot. They wanted to buy our lamps. But they finally started, getting to the point where they were getting frustrated that I wasn't selling them these merchandise, or it's not even merchandise because it's not for sale. And they would, "Can we speak to the manager?" And I looked over, and the fun fact was my manager was my mother. So I was like, "Sure, 1 second. Hey, Mom," and she would walk over and, "Oh, Meanwhile, mom and dad from the Canadian family are just sitting there drinking their beers, minding their own business. The kids are running rampant, and I'm just like, oh. But it was like, it's always so satisfying to shut down a customer when you know they're in the wrong.
Yeah.
The
Especially when they're
customers
being like that.
Oh yeah, no. You want to learn the real meaning of the customer is always right. Do something in the service industry, you'll really learn that's half the phrase. The customer's always right until they're not.
Yeah. It's fun when it happens.
I hate that.
You know when people try to push it, that's why, like, they're just like...
I had, well, at my last job, I worked at a spice shop, and I had a very large mix of that, because half the customers were chefs who actually knew what they were talking about, and then half the customers were strange old people.
I love the description.
No,
Strange old people.
what? It's just strange old. I don't know. They were like strange old rich because I lived like on the border of like a not nice neighborhood and a really nice neighborhood, but I'm on the not nice neighborhood side. And my job is on the nice neighborhood side. My work was, so I'd go over there, and then so everyone who shopped there was like really rich and like and old. Like everyone there, like it's super.
I've never been to a
everyone is,
spice shop. I
old people.
Seems
So
interesting.
pretty much it just like all the old people were like most of the customers other than the chefs were very stubborn and thought that they knew what they were talking about, except half the things they said were wrong. And I didn't want to correct them in like a rude way, but I also want them to know about the spices, because that's part of the job, is like educating people too. Like that's one of the things that
yeah.
we're told
Right.
starting to work there, is like, don't just try and sell the product, try and like educate people about all spices of this stuff.
Yeah,
And I'm like, okay,
you're gonna-
I mean, I know stuff about spices. So I'm just talking to these people about different types of vanilla and powders. Like, no, that's, and then like, I don't know, they'd say things that are wrong, and well, actually, it's this. Sometimes they just get so frustrated, and I'm just like, no, I swear that's not.
This is not a
This
thing,
is
hon. Like, what would...
not a thing.
It's like you come to a spice shop and you're gonna question the employee about spices when you're in a spice shop.
Yeah, it's
See, and I had my own, like, I've had issues like that, and I'm gonna right now apologize. Most of my work stories are from my bartending, because that's the job I've had for the longest period of time relative to my total work experience.
Mhm.
But we had customers, fun fact, middle of Montana, don't know what drinks they're ordering. Someone came in and she asked for a sex on the beach. And so I made one, because I had never made one before, so I looked up the recipe, and I made one. What she ordered is not a sex on the beach, and she was offended by it, and I had to, I remade her drink, and I looked it up, and it was not a, not a really major known drink that I could find.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
from then on, anytime she came in and ordered it, I just had to disassociate sex on the beach with what it actually recipe-wise is.
God, and she repeatedly was ordering it as a.
Yeah, and, well, because in the defense of this lady this time, there was no name that we found for it. And there gets a point when you're in such a small town bartending, when it's not busy, when someone walks through the door, you've already got their drink half made because you know what they're going to order.
Yeah.
And so it's just a matter of, for the first couple of times she came in, anytime she ordered sex on the beach, I had to remember to make what she wanted and not an actual sex on the beach. And there was people all the time that they would do stuff like that, or they would, during the winter holidays, college kids were in break, they would go through, because there was also a ski resort, really close, because my town was located, a couple hours away from the Rocky Mountains.
Mhm.
So it's, fairly good skiing and snowboarding. They'd come through to see family or go snowboarding, whatever. And they would just come in and ask, college kids, they don't have a big repertoire with drinking. They'd come in and they just, well, what do you have that's festive? And I, talk to them. If it's a slow day, I'll talk to them. I'll hang out there, and then we'll look up something together. And we'll just, try things. But if they order something and then they don't know what they're talking about, they are the most offended people that you'll ever see. Just because what they know is being said that they're wrong. And people don't like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't.
And I wish I knew why people would be like that, because I know and this is, and I know this is just me personally, that whenever, like, if somebody's going to correct me, at first, obviously I stop and say, oh wait, what? But if I genuinely learn something, like, I'm always open to that, and I feel like it's a very important thing, is to be open to learning what it actually is.
And
it's like, just because you know it by a certain name doesn't mean that if it's universally known, if a sex on a beach is a specific recipe and you're calling something else, like, let's say, like a dry martini, calling that like a sex on the beach for whatever, like it's like it's not the same thing. So, like, take a second to learn, and guess what? You can pass that along.
I just think that more people need to give other people the benefit of the doubt, that they're not like, okay, so if someone says something that's wrong, it's not even necessarily that they're lying, it's just that they're misinformed. But then also, if someone else is telling you that you are wrong, like, as long as they're like, don't get offended. Unless they're doing it in like a really rude way, like, then I understand getting offended. Like, if someone's like, no, you're wrong, you're stupid, like.
I would like to imagine that. Oh, sorry.
But if someone's like being like nice and trying to clearly educate you, just like listen to what they have to say, and maybe you'll learn something. Like,
See, I feel like it's just kind of a way people have been, like, because it's typically these past couple of generations of people that I experience it with the most. I feel like it's typically just the way that they grew up, that if they're being corrected, it's not because they don't know, or that they only half know. It's because they were told that they're wrong. And I feel like people just associate being corrected with being wrong, and they're also they also want to have the conviction to say, no, I know what I'm talking about, I don't want to be embarrassed here.
Yeah,
and I think the same, you can see the same issue when one of the things that I always found interesting was how many times people in authority, and I mean authority as in like teachers, principals, adults, not authority as in like government, law, anything like that, just adults in general that were in authority. If you asked why something was the way it was, or why a rule was there, they would act like you were challenging their authority, when in all reality, I think you should ask why, so you understand what's wrong or why it is the way it is.
Oh yeah.
But it's just not a thing that people accept, or they used to not accept when I was younger.
Yeah, it's this. I know. Yeah, coming from being a dad, there are times when it's. I know I always try to approach every situation, because I got that a lot when I was a kid. It was always, oh well, this is a rule. Why? Well, that's just how it is. Like, no, that's. Growing up like that, it's like, okay, come on. Like, there's always a reason behind why something is the. Like, even okay, that's just always how we've done it. Okay, that's more of a reason than it's just how it is, or that's how it is, or that's because I say it is. It's like, no, you don't own the world. Like, you need to have a reason.
When you're teaching, like, even children, like, people assume that children will only need like one like reason, like they aren't like adults, so they won't want the full reason. Like, no, it's just like they're still adults. Like, you need to treat people, just don't treat children with enough respect to like tell them like the actual reasons, rather than just because you need to listen. Like, it's because like they're going to learn better if they actually know what the reason is for it.
Yeah. And that may be where we're getting some of these problems, is because everyone's so used to, being talked down to by these people in authority, where it's like, oh, that's just how it is, or oh, that's, this is what it is because I say so, that all of a sudden you get out into the real world and it's like, not everyone's going to treat you like you're a child and just give you the one answer and that's just how it goes. You have to find things out and learn for yourself. And, I hope that's something that, maybe everyone can take away from, is that, if you're used to getting that one word answer because I said so or whatever, just ask. Like, don't go attacking people like, oh, you need to give me an answer. But, inquire, try and learn. I mean, there are enough resources out there with the internet that, if let's say a law doesn't make sense to you, we'll go to that extreme. Well, like, let's say a law doesn't make sense to you, look it up. Like, look and see what the actual thing is. Have it make sense to you. Because if you understand what, all the different, or to the best of your ability anyway, understand the forces that kind of control the world around you, maybe that for you can take away some of that frustration that you get when you're interacting with people. Because, just again, to kind of, wrap that all up with that example of, we all four of us have customer service experiences, and I'm sure, anyone listening does too, of people just constantly challenging them and getting angry at them because they think that, you're purposefully trying to shut them down, or, you're just trying to be, an ass. Like, no, there's a reason why I'm telling you no, or why I'm trying to teach you something, because, I'm just getting paid to tell you no, which can definitely be a thing. We all need to pay bills, or it's a case of, hey, I'm in a position where it's part of what I'm supposed to do, or I'm genuinely interested in teaching you about this thing. You're already here. Give me 2 seconds and I'll impart some knowledge on you. So next time you come in, hey, guess what? We don't have to have this conversation.
Right.
So be open to learning.
Yeah,
that's the nice thing is when
people...
people...
sorry, go on, Schmear.
It's just nice when people do clearly learn them at your job. Like, if they come back and they, like, know what they're talking about finally, you're like, yes, you are correct. They're like, oh, I talked to you last time, right? And I'm like, yeah. And they were like, you were talking to me about this. And then they list all the facts that you told them. And you're like, yes, thank you. That is exactly what I was saying to you.
Right. And I mean, when I had stuff like that happen, not at work, just throughout other aspects of my life. For instance, when I was in high school, I was in FFA. I did, FFA agriculture sales, agribusiness management, which is essentially farm accounting. And I was in the mechanics team, which mechanics, I tell people it's the mechanics team, they associate it with like working on tractors or something. And we know, or, in all reality, it's a lot of different aspects, from electrical work to, welding, plumbing, electrical, carpentry, just all aspects of basically physical blue-collar work. And there was this kid that came in, they were younger, they were a freshman, so they were on a different team than me and my friends were. So we sat there and we talked to them, because their first event went terrible. They didn't do great. They just, I think, like, they didn't do as bad as they could have, but they didn't place as high as they wanted to. And for what happened was, we took the time, me and my 3 friends that were the seniors mechanics, and we taught them, this is what happened. We went through them, when you were welding, this is what you did, this is what we saw, and this is what the instructor said. So we will kind of teach you how to do it the way we do it, and we'll see if it helps. And then the next event came by, and they actually did so much better. I think they placed the top 10 out of the 300 people that competed.
Wow.
And so it was just such a satisfying feeling, knowing that instead of them getting frustrated at us, they were more frustrated themselves. Of course, when you want to do good and you don't, you tend to do that. But instead of them getting frustrated with us, instead of them asking, questions, how do I do this? Why is it this way? What is the rule for this? And then them actually taking that and doing so much better in the next, couple of months at the next several events. It was such a great time. Have them.
No, I think, we all suddenly died all at once. Thank you, Internet. Again, episode 2 brought to you by the Internet and all of its glory.
With the magic of post-editing production, though.
Exactly.
That's true. What, there's no pause. We don't know what you're talking about.
Anyways.
Shout out to the FFA.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's really cool whenever you get a bunch of people together to learn, and and everyone has something to learn
Yeah.
from everybody else, no matter what it is. So I think that's definitely something important. So and I guess that maybe that's the maybe that's the theme of this whole episode is, be open to learning, be open to what the world has around you, whether it be, esports and learning about everything that goes into setting up an esports team, or, you learn about bartending or spices, or you don't want to learn about insurance. So trust me, don't do that. But,
Or
just be open to the world around you, because there are a lot of cool things that are there, and I think, it'll help enrich your experience
Right.
for sure.
And I feel like that's, if you want to know how to have a very satisfying life and be like, when it comes to being social, take the time to learn about a lot. You never know I never planned on being a bartender, but I was a bartender, and I would come in and I'd talk to these customers, and I would listen to their stories, I'd listen to them talk, and just the stuff that I learned from them, or the stuff that I learned from, for instance, FFA, talking to the teachers, talking to the other kids, talking to my coaches. And it's just one of those things that I feel like I've benefited so much more from knowing all these different subjects that I might never need to know, but I wasn't afraid to learn about because I didn't need to know them.
There you go.
there you go.
Well, that'll about do it for us today. I want to thank Cole, Lee, and Schmear for joining me on this awesome journey
Always
we took here for episode 2. And yeah, so make sure you tune in next time. Who knows what we'll be sucking? And to end this episode, we'll cut to Egg for a little bit of reading. Thank you, guys.
So this is an excerpt of On London by China Miville, or Mivile, or however. They ran past chefs baking roof tiles in their ovens and chiseling apart bricks over pans, frying the whites and yolks that emerged. Past confectioners with jars full of candied leaves, past what looked like an argument at a honey stall between a bear in a suit and a cloud of bees in the shape of a man. At last, they reached a little clearing deep in the market containing a pump and a pillar. They stopped, their hearts pounding. "What are we going to do?" said Diba. "I don't know." They looked up at that empty-hearted sun above them. Diba dialed her home once more. "Hello, Mom?" she whispered. There was that frenetic buzzing. From the little hole in the back of her phone burst a handful of wasps. Diba shrieked and dropped the phone, and the wasps flew in different directions. Her phone was broken. She sat heavily at the pillar's base. Xana stared at her, and her face began to crease. "It'll be okay," said Diba. "Don't. It'll be all right." "How?" said Xana. "How will it?" Xana and Diba stared at each other. From her wallet, Xana drew out a strange travel card she had been sent weeks ago. She stared as if it might contain some clue, some advice, but it was only a card.